been almost 3 years since I've done a Blu-ray haul, but I've accumulated a bunch of stuff over the past couple weeks and months that I just figured I needed to talk about it. If you're new to these types of videos, basically I'm going to be talking about everything I picked up for my Blu-ray and 4K collection. Laid back, relaxed, I'm just going to be discussing some of my favorite movies, obviously movies that I want to own in my collection physically, and then they can be there forever. If you like these types of videos, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let's get into it. The first thing I want to show off is the Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning Steelbook. I'm very grateful because friend of the channel, Jason Carr, sent this over to me just to have for my collection. He was very generous, and I really appreciate that, so shout out to you, Jason. I know you're watching. While I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, I know that it's going to look fantastic on 4K, as the other Mission Impossible movies look great, and the action sequences in here are amazing, and I want to just revisit it for those moments alone, really. Now, this next portion of stuff is going to be Amazon Black Friday deals. Most of these are from Amazon. Actually, a couple are from eBay, which we'll get into in a second. First thing up is the Terminator. I probably haven't seen this movie in at least 5 years, maybe a little bit more, but I remember really enjoying it. Obviously, it's a classic, the second one as well, and I think it'll look great on 4K. Next thing I want to dive into is the Halloween H2O 4K Steelbook. Now, this is actually one of my favorite Halloween movies. It's so cheesy, it's campy, and it's just really fun to watch. I've seen it, I think, twice now, and it's not great by any means, but you kind of just have to just have fun with it, because this movie just wants you to have fun, and I just wanted it for my collection, obviously. Then we have The Last of Us Season 1 on 4K. Now, I don't own too many shows on 4K, but we're actually going to get into more shows here. But with The Last of Us, this first season was just fantastic, and I knew that I just wanted to own it. And the second season, while not as good, I still enjoyed it. I think it was kind of overhated, actually, but I'm sure this is going to look great. And I do think it's one of like the best first seasons of TV that if I was really gun to my head, I think this would be up there. Then we have Forrest Gump, which is another movie that I haven't seen. Probably, I think I watched it around the same time as The Terminator, and I just remember really liking it. It was one of those movies that for years people are like, well, you haven't seen Forrest Gump. You haven't seen Forrest Gump. How is that possible? And I didn't really know what to say to them, so I finally watched it, and I just remember really liking it. And it's a classic, and so it's kind of like one of those you gotta own. It's so quotable. It came out in one of the best movie years, 1994. And Tom Hanks here, this is arguably one of his greatest performances, and he's arguably the GOAT. Now, this one is very fitting for the season right now because Wicked 2 just came out as of recording this video. And I ordered The Wizard of Oz not because of Wicked 2, but because it was on sale. And this is a classic movie. It still holds up, almost 100 years later. And I'm sure the colors here are really going to pop because this movie is so beautiful, and it's just one of those movies that you can kind of just throw on and just have a good time and get thrown into the world of Oz and just relax. Then we have The Truman Show, which is another movie that I watched around the same time as Terminator and Forrest Gump. And this is just another classic movie, another one that is kind of in a lot of people's favorites of all time, I would say. I don't really remember much about it, but I do think I remember enjoying it, which is why I pulled the trigger on it. And if I remember liking it enough to warrant buying it, like that's kind of how it works for me if I haven't seen it in a long time. The final few moments of this movie have kind of just gone down in cinema history as one of the greats. Now I'm happy to own it because I can really watch it again. And these next two are two movies in the same universe. This is a movie and its sequel that I think is one of my favorite movies, honestly. That's Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. This was a double pack. Even though they come in separate cases, they were kind of packaged together, I guess. The first Cloverfield I watched, actually, I think in anticipation for the Batman. This is a Matt Reeves movie, and I just thought it was excellent. One of the best found footage movies. And then 10 Cloverfield Lane totally blew me by surprise. I think I just watched it on a whim, and I was absolutely hooked from start to finish, and it just became one of my favorite thrillers. It's claustrophobic, and it's intense, and it just had me hooked from start to finish, like I said. As it is kind of one of my favorite movies, I'm so happy to own it, as well as Cloverfield. And I haven't seen the third one, but I heard it sucked. But I'm still kind of curious because these two are great. And so I'm kind of just curious enough to give it a shot, maybe one day. That does it for my Amazon pickups. Now we're going to go into Sony, which I guess they have an eBay store. I forget what it's called, but I'll put an image up here and then I'll link it down below if you're curious, because I think the sale is still going on. I think it's if you buy 3 items, you get 40% off the entire purchase. So I got 3 4Ks, and I think they came to about $10 a piece, which is a damn great deal. And free shipping too. And so these are all Sony titles. And the first one is Groundhog Day, one of my favorite movies, similar to 10 Cloverfield Lane. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but it's just such a comedy classic, and Bill Murray is so perfect here. Then we have Stand By Me, another one of my favorite movies. I rewatched it earlier this year ahead of The Life of Chuck, kind of just on a Stephen King kick. It's a timeless story. It kind of gives you nostalgia for your childhood, even though it might not be exactly the same to these kids, but I can look back on my childhood and being with my friends, and it just brings you so much warmth, but also at the same time, it's pretty devastating. And speaking of movies that are devastating, Boys in the Hood, which this is a classic movie once again. I watched it a couple of years ago, and I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. And I knew that it was like a classic movie, but I wasn't expecting to be as moved by it by the end of it. The performances here are terrific, and John Singleton, rest in peace. This is probably his best movie. These next two are from Groove.com, which I've talked about before, but if you don't know it, they sell Universal, Warner Brothers titles, and now Shout Factory titles too. Both of these titles are Warner Brothers titles, but they had sales on all 4Ks. They had like a 3 for $10 deal, but most of these were $12.99, which is a great deal as well. And these two movies came out in 2025. So to get two 4Ks for that price is incredible. The first one is Sinners, which is my favorite movie of the year. I rewatched it about 2 weeks ago now, and I just fell in love with it once again, and it boosted its way up to a 5 out of 5 for me, an A+. It's just riveting. I just didn't really have any complaints with it now on a rewatch. And the IMAX sequences are gorgeous, and this movie is so well directed by Coogler, so well acted, and it's just so original, so fresh, and really just captivating from start to finish. And then you have Superman, which I love this 4K because it's Clark Kent, and then he's Superman, and then he's Clark Kent, and he's Superman. You can just play with that for hours, but this movie was great. I thought it was a great start to the DCU. I'm so excited to see where it goes. I think James Gunn did a really good job with this one. I've seen it twice now. I saw it once, actually both times in IMAX. And with Supergirl next year, I'm so excited for that. And I hope that whatever goes on with Warner Bros. In terms of its acquisition and sale, DC doesn't really get kind of messed with, and I hope that James Gunn can see his vision fleshed out for however long he wants to stay around. If every movie is going to have its own signature touch on it, I'm going to be very pleased, and I can't wait for Man of Tomorrow in a couple years. Now, this next one is really cool because I am a part of the AA24 club membership or whatever, where you basically pay, I think, $10 a month, and you get a bunch of benefits. And one of the benefits is you get a birthday gift on your birthday. So my birthday was a couple months ago, but because I haven't done a video in terms of haul stuff, I wanted to talk about it now. You get like 2 pages of options. There's usually one movie. I think the items are refreshed every month, so it's different every month. There's like t-shirts, hats, whatever. I knew going into it that I kind of wanted a movie, and what I picked is a movie that I haven't seen in a while once again, but I think it's going to look stunning on 4K. That's The Lighthouse. Now, this little set right here, I don't like it because it's going to be hard to fit onto the shelf, but it is super detailed. It kind of comes with like a booklet too. I got the 4K edition, and I think it retails for like pretty expensive, and so when you get it for free, it's like, hell yeah. Opening it up, it has, like I said, it's a booklet, and it's really, the attention to detail is the disc right there. There's storyboard, just kind of like, looks like construction pieces and shots from the film. This movie's definitely weird. I don't love Robert Eggers. His stuff doesn't really vibe with me all too much. But I'm excited to give this one a revisit now that I own it and will, because this one is just such a cool collector's piece too, even though I don't like the packaging. Now, this next portion of stuff is stuff that was sent to me for review. There's, I think, three TV sets, which is like complete series TV sets, and a couple movies, but let's jump into it. The first thing sent over from Paramount is the Yellowstone Complete Collection. Now, this is on DVD, but I have never seen Yellowstone, but this has so much stuff. It is packed with, obviously, the entire series, which is incredible. The set itself is a little clustered. I don't like how the discs had to be stacked. I think most collectors aren't a fan of discs that are stacked in a set, but nonetheless, this one has a bunch of special features too. Over 19 hours of special features with interviews, behind the scenes footage, more, like a bunch of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff to dive into here. Whenever I do get around to watching Yellowstone, this is how I'm going to be watching it now, because if this show gets removed from the internet, guess what? I own it, and that's what's so cool about these TV shows. And so thank you to Paramount for sending this. The next thing up is the Curb Your Enthusiasm entire box set. This one is on Blu-ray. Once again, a show I have not seen, but this is like my dad's favorite show. He just always is telling me, you gotta watch it. It's so funny. Larry David, obviously the guy behind Seinfeld and Curb, which are two of the greatest comedy shows as far as I hear. I haven't seen either of them. Once again, this is a kind of setup where the discs are stacked, but Blu-rays are pretty solid when it comes to scratch resistance, so I've heard, so hopefully this will be okay, but obviously this is the entire show. Once again, when I do want to go and watch the show, now I have the best way to watch it. Obviously not streaming quality, now I have it in 1080p Blu-ray quality. And who doesn't love a good comedy? I mean, The Office is probably my favorite comedy, but I've heard that there are some episodes in here that go down as like some of the best TV in comedy history, or just TV in general. The last show we have is The Newsroom. Now, this is a bit different from Curb. I think in the similar vein to Yellowstone, where it's hour-long format and more of a dramatic show. This one only has 3 seasons, and there's actually not too many episodes, so I feel like I could binge this one quickly. It's from Aaron Sorkin, who is one of the greatest screenwriters as far as I see it, and I don't really know much about it, but I know that it's set in a newsroom. Obviously, the title would suggest that. There's a great cast, too. Obviously, you have Jeff Daniels, who won an Emmy for this show, and Emily Mortimer, John Gallagher Jr., Allison Pill, Dev Patel, Olivia Munn. Really just star-studded, and I'm curious to see what all the hype is about, because I've heard this show is excellent. The remaining stuff, all movies. Now we have John Wayne in The Searchers. This is a classic Western, one that I have not seen, but I requested it for review because I know that it's going to look stunning in 4K. Warner Archive Collection put out High Society earlier this year. I watched that. The 4K was beautiful. I think recently they put out one of the Frankenstein movies, and this is actually the first 4K that they ever put out. I think I'm going to watch this one in the new year when I'm not worried about kind of watching all these 2025 movies in anticipation for my end of the year list. There was a 1996 documentary called A Turning of the Earth, John Ford, John Wayne and the Searchers. There is an archival introduction by John Wayne's son. It's a commentary with John Ford and Peter Bogdanovich. Really just cool stuff, and Warner Archive just does great work with their transfers in particular, so I can't wait to watch this one and see if it's a Western that I really vibe with. This next one I knew I had to get my hands on because it's one of my favorite movies. It's a movie that has had a lot of discussion, particularly when it was released initially in 2021, and then it did go on to win Best Picture. That is Coda. I was worried this movie was never going to get a physical media release because it's an Apple original movie. It finally got a release. It's a very bare bone release. It literally just has the movie, but it's in 4K. There's no special features, which is kind of a bummer, but regardless, I'm very happy to own this one. And now, again, if it ever gets removed from Apple TV, all this stuff, if it ever gets removed from the internet, we don't know if that's going to happen now. With stuff getting censored and episodes of TV, especially in a comedy, getting kind of just, oh, we can't put that on the internet anymore, we got to strip that away. I will always have it uncensored now because I own it. And so with Coda, this is a movie that I love. It's very near and dear to my heart. I think it's just such a beautiful film, very well deserving of Best Picture. Kind of a hot take, I know. But I love that I own it now and I can watch it whenever I want. And that's awesome. Last but certainly not least is a very special kind of release, very similar to The Lighthouse in the sense of this box. It's for Pride and Prejudice, the 20th anniversary. It says it right here. There you go. On 4K. This is the first time it's been on 4K. This is from Universal. Thank you so much for sending it. I watched this movie for the first time this year, and I loved it, and I immediately bought it on Blu-ray. Never opened that up, but now I have it on 4K, so I can get rid of that Blu-ray. It's beautiful, and it's extremely romantic. I'm a sucker for a good romance movie. This booklet right here, very cool. You have that crazy good shot right there. Obviously, the Blu-ray and the 4K, and then another booklet with just a bunch of stuff in here. There's quotes, there is kind of little character posters right there, and the note, and just so much good stuff in here. And it's such a cool release, and it is now available, so I'm very happy to own it. And I think on rewatch it could go even up. I think I had it like a 4 out of 5, a B+, but I just really loved it. The more I've thought about it, the more I love it, and I'm so happy to own it on 4K. And that about does it for all the physical media stuff that I've gotten recently and for review stuff that I've ordered for Black Friday deals, all that good stuff. Be sure to let me know down below in the comments, what have you picked up, anything cool, 4K, Blu-ray, whatever it is. I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and if you did enjoy it, again, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, look forward to more content coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meteor, and I'll see you guys in the next one.